Yeah. Hair flip, yeah, I'm a badass bitch. I don't like it. Hair flip, yeah. Oh my god. So you guys should be happy. Oh my goodness. Hair flip. But anyways, hair flip. Hair flipping on these toes. Hi.
Thank you and welcome back to your boy SeanDavieWay. Today we will be taking a closer look at a young man named Barry Washington Jr. who was slain at a nightclub on September 19th, 2021 around midnight. And we'll just get into this story. It's very unfortunate. He was an innocent black man. There was really no rhyme or reason for the reason that he was killed to a single shot from a white man named Ian. So we will get into this story, a closer look, a breakdown. Once again, thank you for tuning in to your boy SeanDavieWay. So when all of this started happening, there was a lot of people, with outcries, starting with a lot of celebrities. A lot of celebrities were very upset by this happening. Not only were celebrities upset, there were a lot of TikTokers that wanted to make this story go viral due to this injustice that was done to Barry Washington Jr. So let's get into a couple of these clips of TikTokers deciding to take, matters into their own hands and truly try to make a change and bring Barry and his family justice.
This man here is Ian Cranston. This woman here is ALLIE BUTLER. They live in Central Oregon and currently they are hiding. I believe they live in Redmond, Oregon. On September 19th, Ian Cranston shot and killed a black man in my community at a bar for supposedly complimenting his white partner. If that rings to you of Emmett Till, that's because it's happening again here in 2021. The man that he shot and murdered, his name was Barry Washington. He was an innocent black man that was just downtown drinking with his friends. There's a video that was released to the news by the killer's partner, ALLIE BUTLER here. She filmed a video after he was shot and murdered of her laughing at his body. They had called him racial slurs. Everybody stood around, turned the music back up, and they were just laughing, having a good old time. Only one person in the video said somebody should call the police. Nobody moved, nobody ran. There was no screaming for help, nothing. They shot and killed a black man in public, like a public lynching for supposedly complimenting his white partner. And he was let out on bail with a manslaughter charge. She was not arrested at all. Again, his name is Ian Cranston. This is ALLIE BUTLER. And they murdered Barry Washington Jr. in public, and they were let go because they are white. If you care about Black lives, if you care about getting justice for Black lives, I need you to share the hell out of this video and look up this case. It's taking place in Central Oregon. His name was Barry Washington. He was murdered by Ian Cranston and ALLIE BUTLER, who are both out and free living their lives. I need y'all to follow this case, share this video. October 5th, there's going to be new evidence presented to a grand jury at the Deschutes County Courthouse. If any of you can make it there to show support for Barry's family, that would be amazing. Our community is just ripped to shreds right now and shaken. I can't imagine how his family feels knowing that the two white people that murdered him and are filmed calling him racial slurs before killing him and are filmed laughing at him afterwards and are walking free right now. It's just like, my mind is boggled. I need y'all to share the hell out of this. Follow our efforts. Look up the Barry Washington case, please. Follow this. Ian Cranston and ALLIE BUTLER are pieces of trash. Two white racists who murdered a black man because they felt they had the right to. And then sent the video of them murdering him to the news to vindicate themselves. They really felt like they had the right to murder him because he allegedly complimented this white woman. Please follow this case, y'all. Blow this video up. Black Lives Matter. Justice for Barry Washington.
More American than a black man being killed just for talking to a white woman. I'm not talking historically, I'm talking September 19th, 2021, Bend, Oregon. In a modern-day lynching, Ian Cranston killed Barry Washington for complimenting ALLIE BUTLER outside a bar. Breakdown is simple. Ian's friends started fighting Barry. Ian was off to the side. Ian pulled out a gun, and to quote the DA, punches had stopped, and it was just some shouting. And then at that point, Cranston pulled a gun out of his waistband and shot. Sounds like murder. On video, it looked like murder, but of course, Ian Cranston was only charged with second-degree manslaughter. This man was free within a day, but Barry is gone forever. Make some noise for Barry Washington today and every day. There can be no peace until there is justice. Justice for Barry.
A prosecutor describes a romantic beef gone wrong, but friends and family of the victim dispute that narrative. Formal charges have yet to be filed against a white man accused of shooting and killing a black man in downtown Bend on September 19th. Barry Washington Jr. was unarmed when he died after a single gunshot wound, officials said. He was only 22 years old. Bend police officers were called to the scene just after midnight and arrested Ian McKenzie Cranston, 27. Cranston was booked into jail on suspicion of second-degree manslaughter and soon posted a $10,000 bond to be released. Deschutes County District Attorney John Hummel said investigators are still determining what charges Cranston will face. Prosecutors intend to seek an indictment by presenting evidence to a grand jury before October 5th. The quick release of the accused shooter and law enforcement's initial public description of the events leading up to Washington's killing have outraged some of his family and friends. According to numerous social media posts, Hummel said that the events Saturday started with Washington approaching and complimenting a woman described as Cranston's girlfriend. A video camera captured an ensuing scuffle involving several people, Hummel said, with shoving and punches thrown outside of the Capitol Bar in Bend. The punches stopped and it was some shouting, and then at that point, Cranston pulled a gun out of his waistband and shot, according to the district attorney. Hummel says there was no justification for Cranston's use of the weapon. The question I have to decide is whether Cranston's decision to shoot was motivated in part by Washington's race, he added. At the end of the day, it comes down to what his motivation is at the instant that he committed the crime. A Facebook profile appearing to belong to Cranston identified him as a machinist in a rifle department at Nosler, an ammunition manufacturing company based in Bend. The profile also listed a manufacturing instructor position with Clackamas Community College. A spokesperson for the college confirmed Cranston was a part-time faculty member from April 2018 until March 2020. Screenshots of Cranston's posts were obtained by OPB but could not be independently verified because the profile was no longer publicly viewable by Tuesday morning, following Cranston's release from jail. Images from the now closed social media account showed numerous posts from 2011 and 2012 using the N-word. Another post apparently created when Cranston was about 17 reads AR-15, here I come. At this time of the shooting, Cranston held a concealed handgun license, Hummel said. Washington's friends and family have taken to social media to question the law enforcement's narrative suggesting a chance encounter with Cranston. Public posts by an aunt and cousin-in-law claim Washington said he had endured racist targeting and harassment in Bend prior to the night he was killed. Bend City councilors issued a joint statement about shooting this week, calling Washington's death totally preventable. We must dig deep and examine ourselves and the system and the culture that has brought us to the point where a young person is shot and killed in our downtown, it reads in part. Gun violence is a routine part of our life in other places. We do not accept it here. The statement does not explicitly mention race. We call on the community to come together and focus on how we can prevent these tragedies from happening in the city we all love, the city council wrote. We call for justice and support for Mr. Washington's family as they grieve this tragic loss, it reads. Washington was from the Bay Area and had recently moved to Bend. He wanted to travel and experience life on his own as a man, according to a Facebook post from LaWanda Robinson, his mother. Washington's body was sent to a crime lab in Clackamas County for an autopsy before being returned to a Deschutes County funeral home and released to his family Tuesday evening, Hummel said. The district attorney justified the autopsy, saying it was meant to avoid any speculation argument made down the road on some technicality regarding the cause of death. He said it is not standard to practice to ask families for permission. Longtime Ben resident and activist Ricardo Waits said the killing hits home for him. Ben is regressing instead of progressing when it comes to race issues, said Waits, who is black and a founder of a nonprofit, Central Oregon Black Leaders Assembly. Right now, I'm in the middle of deciding, do I send my daughters to another state while I continue to fight for social justice issues and racially sensitivity issues here? Is my family safe? Visuals in his honor of Washington's life on Wednesday and Thursday evenings are starting at 6:30 p.m. at the Peace Corner on Greenwood Ave and Wall Street. A GoFundMe page called Justice for Barry Washington raised more than $5,000 in its few first hours on Thursday. If you would like to donate to the GoFundMe is Justice for Barry B.J. Washington Jr.
A few minutes before I walked down here, I was on the phone with Barry's mother, LaWanda Robinson. I informed LaWanda of the decision made by the grand jury. I expressed my condolences to her and her family as they continue to grieve the loss of Barry. Based on what I told her, she thanked God. That's what she said to me. Thank God. There's a reckoning with race that needs to happen in Central Oregon. And it needs to happen now. To the hundreds of people who have been advocating on behalf of Barry and his family, thank you. Keep it up. I see you and I respect you. Our community needs you. Know this. Justice will be done in this case.
Cranston's now being held without bail at the Deschutes County Jail until his court appearance tomorrow afternoon. To read more of Hummel's full statement and his answers to our questions tonight, go to our website, ktvz.com, for the web version of this story.
Now let's take a couple side steps. So originally, Ian was arrested for manslaughter in the second degree and posted a $10,000 bond, which is 10% of the $100,000 they had set. Okay, one, why was he charged with manslaughter? I do not understand that. You had no justification for shooting him. There was multiple people involved in this confrontation, up to 7 people. It is listed. So Ian was not the only person out there with Washington at the time of his killing. Okay? The girlfriend, also Allison Butler, she should have been arrested as well. Not only did she record the altercation of a shooting, she laughs and she walks away. Ian did not call the police after shooting Washington. Neither did Allison. Neither did anybody else that was there on Allison and Ian's side. None of them called the police. You hear one bystander in this video that we're about to play of Allison recording this altercation. And she also records the fatal gunshot that took William's life. How is this not racially influenced when he's been told in the past that he's had problems with these people? And not only that, Ian has been extremely racist, even publicly on platforms such as Facebook and others, to have a distaste for black people, to be a racist individual. How is this crime not targeted as a hate crime? How do you arrest him for one? Ian should be being charged with a hate crime, because that is a hate crime to kill this man because he's black. That is the reason he killed him. He had no reason to shoot him, especially towards the end of the scuffle, which the scuffle, there was a quiet mark in it, meaning that there was no physical altercation. So upon approach with Ian, who knows who Washington was actually approaching within that moment? It does not mean that he was approaching Ian for Ian to take out that weapon and shoot him after There had been an altercation and a skirmish between other people. There are 7 people out there during this skirmish and that are involved in this skirmish. Why would he target Washington besides the fact that he's black? It had nothing to do with Washington saying anything to his girlfriend, because if so, why did he shoot him immediately? If that was the problem. It wasn't. There was a skirmish going on outside, and I think that Washington may have been getting the best of the people that were out there, and they decided to shoot him. Ian, decided to shoot him because he was black. Not only that, there is also, prior to this, Ian has tried to cause trouble before with him at this same bar, with Washington at this same bar. So they've already had problems. He had already been targeted by Ian and Ian's friends before, of them calling him racial slurs. So this is basically the second encounter. I don't know, it could have been the third, but he's already encountered these people. So why would it not be listed as Washington was targeted because he was black? You targeted a black man and shot a black man because you are racist. Even on Facebook, from 2011 to 2012, him stating the N-word online, calling people N-words.
Say hello. Say hello.
Get the away from
touch
me,
me.
You dick licker.
Get the from us.
Hey, call the police. Hey, call the police.
Okay, you get a shot, and that's all you need to get up. Hit me. The guy on the ground
Hit you in the face.
Yeah, he pushed me back and then hit my boyfriend.
Still not love the police. Still rock the crackers with a couple of creeps. Still got love for the streets, reppin' 213.
Ian Cranston indicted for murder, manslaughter, assault, and unlawful use of a weapon. A Central Oregon man is being charged with murder over the death of 22-year-old Barry Washington Jr., who was shot outside a nightclub in Bend on September 19th. Police arrest Ian Mackenzie Cranston at his home in Redmond on Thursday evening, soon after Deschutes County Grand Jury returned an indictment on 6 charges: second-degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, second-degree manslaughter, first-degree assault, and 2 counts of unlawful use of a deadly weapon. Washington, a black man, was unarmed at the time of his death. Cranston, the accused shooter, is white. The shooting sparked outrage among racial justice advocates in Bend, a city where more than 90% of the residents are white. And gun violence in the downtown area is rare. Deschutes County District Attorney John Hummel told OPB the evidence suggests the men did not know each other until the night of the shooting, when Washington approached Cranston's girlfriend, Allison Butler. A press conference following Cranston's arrest, Hummel described the case in starkly racial terms. Our country has disgraced history of denigrating, prosecuting, and lynching black men for talking to white women. Over the last week, literally hundreds of people called and emailed me to remind me of this history, Hummel said. There's a reckoning with race that needs to happen in Central Oregon, and it needs to happen now. Prosecutors did not seek a biased crime charge from the grand jury. Hummel said, adding they are still investigating whether the shooting was racially motivated. An attorney for Cranston accused the district attorney of deliberately distorting facts to inflame public opinion. When the case goes to trial, it will provide another example of why this country's cases are decided on the bias or basis of evidence presented in court. Not press conference by politicians, Kevin Solly said in a written statement. The defense lawyer said Washington assaulted Cranston without provocation, resulting in head injuries that required the police to take Cranston to the hospital where a brain scan and other procedures had been performed. And that in direct contrast to the district attorney's public statements that unprovoked assault was still actively in progress when the single shot was fired. Both the defense and prosecution point to different video evidence. The district attorney told OPB various security cameras clearly recorded the interactions between Washington and 3 other people. Butler, Cranston, and an unnamed friend of Cranston's, this encounter culminated in a fight on the sidewalk outside the bar, with shoving and punches thrown, Hummel said. Butler, Cranston's girlfriend, released her own cell phone video of the fight to a local media outlet this week, reportedly with the blessing of Cranston's defense attorney. The shaky footage shows a few seconds of shoving between Washington and another person before the fatal gunshot cracks and he falls back. The recording goes on for nearly a minute after Washington is on the ground. Butler appears to walk away and talk to bystanders. Cranston rendered aid and applied pressure to the wound, according to Hummel. Bend police officers who responded to the scene have faced criticism for Washington's family for initially arresting Cranston on a single charge of second-degree manslaughter. Cranston posted bail and he was released from jail in less than 24 hours. Cranston is scheduled for a court hearing Friday afternoon, October 1st. He is currently lodged in the Deschutes County Jail on a no-bail warrant, Hummel said. Since the shooting, hundreds of people have attended vigils for Washington. Before we get into this viral video that Allison Butler posted, let's once again take a couple side steps. So they're assuming that Cranston and Washington never met each other. Ian would be the shooter. Barry Washington would be the victim that was slain this night in this altercation. The family states that Washington had, some racially influenced disrespect and racial slurs thrown at him prior, to this night. So it's very possible that Cranston and Washington bumped into each other before. Now, I'm not stating that for sure, but it does seem as if these two have had an encounter before, a small encounter. So I still think that first-degree murder could still be on the table, because if Cranston is as racist as he is, and already, this town is 90% white, so there's not a lot of black people, within this area. If Cranston is going out, he's continuously seeing this black dude because he doesn't like black people, it's enough to, kind of push a person to keep having the energy to push that hatred more and more. So with him taking that opportunity of Washington complimenting his girlfriend outside of the bar, on the side of the bar, and also Ian's friend was there as well, I think Ian may have took this opportunity to, take Washington out. I'm just saying as a theory. I'm not saying this for sure, as an allegedly. I do think that this could have been in some way, shape, or form premeditated if he had already seen Washington before. So, or had a slight altercation before, may have spewed some, slurs towards Washington's way, and, everybody just kind of kept it moving type of situation. So, with Washington being attractive, very handsome man, there could have been a lot of insecurities, there as well, with Cranston, looking at Washington, seeing him at the bar, saying how certain women migrate to him, especially other white women. That infuriates racist people. They don't believe that their kind, especially, should be dating, touching, anything like that, with a black man. I also feel that Allison's racial slurs were influenced by Cranston, because it's alleged, and it's an article that we're going to get into, that Allison states that she was flattered by, Washington flirting with her, that she was flattered by it. So that's another thing in this country too, where I tell a lot of black men especially that there are a lot of white women out here that are racist and that are prejudiced, but will still date black men, sleep with black men, procreate with black men, and at that same time still be prejudiced, still be racist, still, you know, kind of hate everything about you, but some things they enjoy, you know. So, and I think that Allison is one of those people. I think that Allison did like the energy that she was getting. I think that, you know, Ian probably was the last person on the scene. And when he got there, I think that's when Allison kind of made it seem that it was, you know, kind of problematic. And that's when Ian and, you know, the friend started getting into this altercation with Washington. There was some pushing and shoving and a couple punches were thrown. Now, altercation is between three men. It's between Ian, Washington, and Ian's friend. So why would he not feel a need to protect himself, Washington, if you have two men and a woman calling you racial slurs, and you have these two men approaching you? Everyone's drinking, you know, you're at a bar, so tempers are high, they flare when things like that are going on. So even more reason for this shooting to be unwarranted. There was no reason for him to shoot Washington other than the fact that Washington is black. He does not care for black people, and he's going to take this opportunity to take one out. I feel that Cranston has always wanted to, you know, annihilate a black person or just the black race in general. So, you know, he's going to take, you know, that opportunity, and he definitely did that. So with the situation of, you know, the girlfriend, you know, walking around recording and allegedly Ian giving, you know, first aid to Washington right after he shot him, it does not justify it, especially for the simple fact that none of them were calling the police. The girlfriend's walking around, a bystander still calling, you know, Washington racial slurs, and states that guy over there on the ground. So this man that is just shot, you are looking at it as if like a deer just got shot. Like, why isn't this a big deal? Why aren't you hysterical? Why is no one running, you know, with the gun being shot? Like, why is this not a problem? Why is it okay for everybody to stare at this black man losing his life? You know, and everybody just stands around as if it's okay. She's laughing as you know, if it's a laughing matter. And then on top of that, she's still not going to seek any help or anything. Why isn't she being arrested? I don't understand. She's clearly an accessory. Allison Butler needs to go to jail. She needs to go to jail. I don't understand why all of this is just being pushed on Ian. Allison needs to go to jail as well. They both need to be behind bars. Let's get into this viral video that Allison posted, which I also, side note, don't understand why a defense attorney would let her post this video when she's calling this man racial slurs, which is adding on to the hate crime. And then on top of that, she laughs. And on top of that, she doesn't get help. She's just walking around talking to bystanders about a black man that's over there dying on the ground. And she could care less because he's black. If he was white, I feel that there would have been more of a need to seek help. But since he's black, oh well. Let's get into this video. Viewer discretion is advised. I was telling you earlier that Allison Butler, the girlfriend of Ian Cranston, who is basically the reason they're alleging that Washington lost his life, it was stated in the Source Weekly that Allison was flattered by Washington's, you know, flirting with her, allegedly. So let's get into this article. In the early hours of Sunday, 27-year-old Ian Cranston shot and killed 22-year-old Barry Washington Jr. outside of a downtown Bend nightclub, officials say. Initial reporting suggested Cranston shot Washington after he complimented Cranston's girlfriend and asked her out. Once at the bar and later outside, Deschutes County District Attorney John Hummel said there is no indication Washington said or did anything inappropriate during the interactions, and that Cranston's girlfriend politely turned him away, saying she was flattered but in a relationship. So that means to me, side note, stepping out of the article, that Allison was feeling Washington. She liked Barry. She thought Barry was attractive. She was feeding the energy, but she was in a relationship, which makes me believe that at that point in time when he was flirting with her, Ian was not present. Ian encountered them afterwards, and I believe that is when Allison changed her energy and being outwardly racist towards Barry, spewing racial slurs at Barry, and trying to make Barry feel less than, as if the audacity of him to approach her as he knows she's in a relationship. He didn't. And he also didn't know whom her boyfriend was. He had no idea. So once again, what was the reason? Why was he killed? Why did you shoot him? Why did Allison push this anger towards Barry so that this altercation would happen in the first place if she was flattered and already had politely turned him down? The district attorney himself states with the video footage that he saw that Washington said or did anything inappropriate. There's no indication of it. So if there's no indication of him walking up to her, grabbing on her, anything like that, that did not happen. It was a simple conversation. She said she was in a relationship and he turned away. So where did this come from besides Allison going back to Ian or Ian approaching after, you know, Barry was walking away, to where Allison made this happen? To where she pushed an energy in her racist boyfriend's mind about a black man that just approached her as flirting with her, when she knows her boyfriend is going to feel disrespected, the whole pounding on the chest, I'm the owner of you type of situation, and take it out on the male, which is exactly what happened. I'm sorry. So basically Barry lost his life based off of Allison. That's why I don't understand why Allison is not arrested. I really do not get it. But thank you so much for watching. There will definitely be a part 2. I will keep you updated as the 5th of October. They're supposed to be going back to court. So we will be updating you as soon as we can. Justice for Barry Washington Jr. Shout out to his family, his mother, Ms. Robertson. We love you, sending positive energy your way and your family's way. If you would like to donate to the GoFundMe, it is in the video. I will also put the link in the description and on my community on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you the next time around. Until then, bye. Just a quick update on Allison Butler. Her place of employment has chose to relieve her of duties, if you will. They have fired her due to what has happened to Barry Washington Jr. So let's just hope that her being arrested is next justice for Barry Washington Jr. Allison, you deserve to be behind bars. Flesh, 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 flesh.